"Mama, help her," the 6-year-old boy whispered. His small hand tightened around a battered red toy helicopter. He was staring past his macaroni and cheese, terrified, toward the counter of the roadside diner. 3 young, heavily muscled airmen had just cornered a lone woman. She wore flight fatigues and a name patch that read Duran. She looked bone-tired, nursing a black coffee after a 14-hour shift. The airmen were drunk loud and riding the aggressive confidence of uniforms that fit a little too tight. They weren't touching her, they were just controlling the physical space. One blocking the aisle, one standing behind her, intimidating her, the low hum of conversation. Died. Forks paused halfway to mouths, people looked away, pretending not to notice. But 34-year-old Mara Vance noticed. From her corner booth, the unassuming single mother didn't turn her head. She didn't shift in her seat, but her body instantly registered everything. The angles, the distances, the exits. "Mom," her son Eli whispered again, pulling on her canvas jacket. Mara closed her eyes for a fraction of a second. She felt a heavy, iron door inside her unlock. A door she had welded shut for years ago. "Stay here, Eli," she said softly. She stood up. She didn't hurry. She crossed the checkered linoleum floor with calm, perfectly even steps. Her breathing slowed to a rhythmic, tactical count. She stopped exactly 3 feet behind the lead airman. "Let her go," Mara said. Her voice wasn't raised. It landed flat and steady. A warning completely devoid of emotion. The lead airman turned around, looking her over with open, drunken amusement. He saw a civilian. A quiet soccer mom. "This isn't your business, lady. Go back to your kid. It is now," Mara replied. The second airman stepped aggressively into her personal space, using his height to intimidate her. "You got a problem, Mom?" "Just one," Mara replied. Her dark eyes locking onto his center of mass moved. The lead airman scoffed, reached out, and shoved her hard. It was meant to be humiliating. It was the worst mistake of his life. Mara moved backward half a step, not from the force of the push, but to set her tactical base. When the airman swung a heavy, looping right hook at her head, she was already inside his reach. Her left hand redirected his striking arm at the elbow, using his own momentum against him. Simultaneously, her right palm struck upward into his sternum, with precise, devastating kinetic force. Not enough to break the bone, just enough to completely disrupt his diaphragm. He folded in half, gasping for air, and dropped to his knees. The second airman lunged. Mara pivoted fluidly. She trapped his extended wrist, stepped inside his guard, and executed a textbook throw. He hit the floor so hard the sugar packets bounced off the tables. His breath left him in a violent rush, his arm pinned painfully behind his back. The third airman froze. That split second of hesitation saved him from a broken jaw. Mara stepped forward, driving the stiffened fingers directly into the brachial plexus. Nerve cluster just below his collarbone. His legs instantly gave out. He collapsed against the counter in agony. Total elapsed time? 11 seconds. 3 trained, aggressive military men were on the floor. No broken bones, no blood. Just absolute clinical efficiency. The entire diner stared in stunned silence. Mara stood perfectly still for 2 seconds, scanning for secondary threats. There were none. She turned to the female pilot at the counter. "You okay?" Mara asked quietly. The woman nodded slowly. "Who?" "Who are you?" "Nobody," Mara replied. She turned her back on the groaning men, walked calmly back to her booth, and slid in across from her son. "Eat your food, buddy," she said faintly. "It's getting cold." The military police arrived and dragged the humiliated airmen back to base. The diner's security footage was confiscated. And somewhere deep inside the intelligence wing of Falcon Ridge, someone with a very high clearance level watched that grainy footage. They froze it, frame by frame, analyzing the hip throw. The nerve strike. The perfect tactical spacing. By 6 o'clock a.m. the next morning, the heavy rumble of engines. echoed down Mara's dirt driveway to black, armored SUVs with government plates parked in the dust. Mara was already awake, holding a mug of black coffee. On her porch, a tall woman in pristine Air Force blues stepped out of the lead vehicle. She had silver hair and the undeniable presence of someone who commanded wars. Major General Evelyn Carver. Mara Vance, the general said, climbing the wooden steps. "I don't use that name anymore," Mara replied. Carver's mouth twitched into a knowing half-smile. Sergeant First Class Mara Vance. Former Tier 1 operator, Joint Special Operations Command, Carver held up a secure military tablet. The diner footage paused mid-strike. "You broke your cover for a bar fight," Carver said. "I broke it to protect someone who needed it," Mara corrected smoothly. "You didn't drive out here to arrest me for assault." "What do you want?" Carver lowered the tablet. "A civilian contractor team was taken hostage in eastern Syria 48 hours ago. 2 adults. 1 child. An 8-year-old girl." Mara's jaw tightened. "The unit we would normally send is compromised," Carver continued. "And the secondary teams don't have your specific surgical experience. You were the single best close-quarters rescue specialist task force Orion ever produced. I'm retired," Mara said flatly. Carver stepped closer. "The little girl they took is exactly the same age as your son." The words hung heavy in the cold morning air. "You have 24 hours to decide," the general said, turning back toward the SUVs. "After that, we move without you. And that girl likely dies." That night, Mara lay awake staring at the ceiling. She had left the dark world of special operations because she was tired of being a weapon. But as she listened to her son breathing quietly in the next room, she realized she had never stopped being capable. Eli padded into her room in the dark, dragging his blanket. "Mom," he said carefully, climbing onto the edge of a bed. "If you go away, will you help that little girl?" Mara swallowed hard. "Yes, then you should go." Her throat tightened. "I'll be scared," he admitted, his voice small. "But you always come back." She pulled him close. "I promise." 31 days later, a C-17 Globemaster landed at Falcon Ridge Airfield before dawn. Mara stepped off the cargo ramp wearing desert-stained tactical gear. The mission had been completely off the books, surgical, successful. The 8-year-old hostage had been carried out of a burning compound by Mara herself. Clinging to Mara's tactical vest, no casualties, minimal noise, maximum effect. When Mara finally pulled her dusty sedan into her driveway, Eli was already running across the yard. He collided into her wasteful force. "You came back," he said, his face buried in her jacket. He pulled back, reached into his pocket, and handed her the battered red toy helicopter. "You should take this with you next time." "It helps," Mara laughed softly, tears stinging her eyes. The following Friday, at exactly 8:30 p.m., Mara and Eli walked back into the diner. Same back booth. Same order. The cafe buzzed with ordinary life. The waitstaff just poured her coffee with a little more respect. Peace felt different to Mara now. It didn't feel fragile. It felt earned. She had learned something important. Courage doesn't disappear just because you walk away from the battlefield. It waits in the shadows. Sometimes it just takes a small voice asking for help to wake it up. And sometimes the most dangerous, highly trained warrior on the planet is simply a mother who promised her son she would come home. If you were in that diner, would you have stepped in to help? Let us know in the comments below. And for more stories of hidden heroes and silent authority, hit that subscribe button. This is Stories of Honor.